Demetrious Johnson, retired officially from MMA, probably on my Mount Rushmore.
If he's not in your top 5, bro, I don't respect your list.
People used to think when he would headline a UFC event, they were less exciting. Do you guys think that's changed, or do people still only want to see heavyweights?
People only care about the heavyweights. One of the most sought out things in human nature is watching a larger than life man knock out another larger than life man.
I'm not trying to say like Mighty Mouse was like bad at marketing, but he just was like a super nice, polite, well-spoken, respectful family dude. But that's not really what people want to see.
A lot of people hate on Mikey Musumeci, and I don't get it.
Big dudes that lift and they look big and they think they're badass. They don't want to accept the fact that Mikey Musumeci would grab them and put them to sleep.
Yeah, their egos can't take it.
Do you mean that? So you guys don't tape your mouth shut for to go to sleep?
No, I actually don't.
I have some actually. They sent me a bunch of tape. I have it, and I think I've used it like once or twice. But like my nose, I broke my nose when I like had first started doing MMA, and I had the surgery on it to fix the what's it called? Is this the septum on the inside?
Yeah,
I had a septoplasty where they fixed the inside so I could breathe better, but it still isn't like. It's like not 100%, bro. So if I tape my mouth shut, I'm like, I'm going to fucking die in my sleep.
But what if you inhale normally? Does it still feel like it's like not there? Because like even if like I don't have any issues, but if I do a deep inhale, it'll feel like like I have something there. But if I'm just breathing normally, it's okay.
You do it, Andrew?
Every night.
Yeah,
no
it's really
way.
good for you.
Tape your mouth every night?
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Every night.
People do. You get better sleep. I need to get back on that.
Nuts.
So there's a guy at our gym that tapes his mouth during training like every time too.
Yeah. I try to keep that practice while rolling. Obviously, again, at my level, I'm not trying to act like I'm doing anything special, but if I can keep my mouth closed and just nasal breathe, I can see better in the roll, right? Because I'm not like being too aggressive. I'm not being too twitchy and spazzy because it forces you to calm down. And when I do that, I'm like, oh, check it out. Like, here's another window. And I can kind of do a couple things here and there. But then I get excited because I'm like, let me jump through this window. And then I start mouth breathing and I lose everything.
Yeah, it's so true.
But yeah,
really,
it helps for so many different things though, man. Like if you pee a lot, like in the middle of the night, like if you have to get up to go to the bathroom, just taping your mouth shut will help with that.
Oh, wow. That's me. I feel a lot, bro.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know the science behind it, but basically it prevents you from having to go to the bathroom a lot. And then you wake up a lot less dehydrated because you're not wasting a bunch of that hydration on the air coming in and out of your mouth. And you do get much deeper sleep if you can comfortably do it, right? If you feel like you're freaking claustrophobic, ain't nobody going to sleep that way. So it's, I mean, I highly recommend if you can get into the practice of it, it's definitely worth it.
I'm going to do it tonight. I'll tell you what, because you convinced me.
It's also a muscle, dude. Like if you
I won't be doing it tonight, but
if you never use these muscles, they're just going to be underdeveloped. But then if you start using them, you'll get better at it. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's not for everybody. It took me a while to do it.
Fucking challenge, Andrew. It's not
maybe,
for everybody.
Dude.
So
it's not for, I guess if you don't want to win, bro.
If you're a weak little bitch, then you probably won't do it tonight.
He's like, oh, I am a blue belt, so
yeah.
I understand if you don't get it.
I mean, you and Deron are the same belt, so
I know,
Andrew.
Yeah.
I will choke you to sleep. And
hey, bro,
the dude in your gym that tapes his mouth shut or while he's training, I'm choking him too, bro. That's just like when dudes wear wrestling headgear to jiu-jitsu practice. I'm like, oh, I'm choking you, bro. You can't get your head out. That is insanity to me. Do you see that at CTA?
There's one guy that tapes his mouth shut. Yeah.
What about wrestling headgear?
Oh yeah, a few people. It's not a consistent thing, but like if someone gets cauliflower ear, they'll like.
For
sometimes
sure.
A few dudes will like wear the headgear.
Because cauliflower ear
worn it
hurts,
before
bro.
A few times. Yeah, it sucks, and then people still want to train.
Yeah,
it's the worst thing ever. I mean,
it's very tender. When it's soft, it's very tender. That's like when one of my when one of my kids have a soft cauliflower ear and they're kind of being a pussy about it, I'm like, I get it, bro.
Yeah, no, it's the worst.
Bad.
The worst pain ever.
And I don't know what it is, if it's just because you're, those, the sensors of your ear are closer to your brain or whatever. But dude, I'm telling you what, I remember when I had my cauliflower ears, and I had them like at different times, like on each ear. But I remember having it one time and being like, dude, I cannot train. I can't even put a headgear over it, bro. Because when the headgear bumps it, it hurts so bad, bro.
Hey, so how like your cauliflower ear will swell up and then you'll drain it. And then the next day you'll like wear headgear. And then it's like, okay, It didn't swell back up. And then the second day you train and you wear the headgear and you're like, okay, it didn't swell back up. And then the third day you train with the headgear, and then it fucking swells back up.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, how it's like a process, right? Yeah. I was in the middle of that process, like right before one of my amateur fights. And I had gotten to the point where I was like draining it, and I thought it was like good. It was like almost good. And then in the fight, at one point, the guy was like holding my head, and I like ripped my head away from him. And his arm like dragged on my ear, and it just like swelled up in the middle of the fight. And I was so mad. And then I just started like swinging on the guy crazy, bro.
Oh yeah, bro. It hurts so bad.
And after the fight, someone took a picture with me and my ear was just all swelled up. Oh, it was horrible.
Dude, you know what's insane is, sometimes it busts open.
Yeah.
And like, so for example, and it's crazy in a situation like this, Jordan Burroughs, it was either in his world title in 2011 or his Olympic title match or semis. It was one of the other. His ear exploded in the middle of the match, bro.
Damn.
And he still won. I mean, just think about it. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. So, like, serious question, because, dudes be like,
we lost Mason again.
I think his camera got messed up. But, like, so again, real question, again, kind of like at the casual level, it's like a celebrated thing, right? Like, it's, oh, dude, I finally got my ear to flare up a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, even for myself, I've only had one like legit flare up where I was like, oh shit, I finally got a little something going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went away because I don't go, that hard every day and that sort of thing. But like, you guys are legitimately saying like you do not like it, like it's an inconvenience almost.
It's terrible.
Like, yeah, like, so like, what's so bad about cauliflower ear? Because one, it makes you look pretty fucking badass, and it kind of puts that signal out there that like, yes, I
in
train.
The process. So like when it's soft, it hurts bad. But like right now, I don't feel anything. That's what it does. So that's literally what it is. It's your body evolving to protect you for like what you're putting your body through, So that that your that cartilage buildup is literally your body forming like a callus to protect your ears with all the grappling you're doing on your body.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets hard, it doesn't hurt, bro. But when it's soft, it's bad, bro.
Yeah, and the good thing is now that they're hardened, I don't get cauliflower ear anymore. So like if you drain it and then it heals, you let it heal, then there's going to be room for it to swell back up again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's almost better to like early on just get it and let it kind of harden up, and then you don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
And I used to
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I used to know somebody that worked for an ENT doctor, so ear, nose, and throat, and like high school or even younger wrestlers would come in to get their ears drained, and it got to a point where the doctor would just be like, "All right, I'm no longer doing any of these drainings if you are going back to wrestling."
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, what a shitty thing to do, but he was just like, it's just gonna come back.
Yeah,
so you have to do it yourself, right?
Well, no, so that's literally, I was about to just say that, is if there's any advice I would tell somebody, depending on the situation, if you don't have a competition coming up, if you get cauliflower ear and it's soft, and maybe you can drain it, but regardless if you drain it or not, you have to just give like 3 or 4 days for it to harden up without getting back on the mat. Because every time you get back on the mat, it is liable to blow back up. But you have to just give it time to harden. You got to let that cartilage harden in there. And then you'll be good. But you'll see people in a wrestling season, these kids, and they'll be draining their ear for like a month and a half. But it's because they're just getting back into practice every day, back into practice, and the blood flows up again. Right? Because the blood is going there to try to heal your ear.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys ever have to deal with like a bad staph infection? I had my first one like a year ago or so, and it scared the shit out of me because I didn't know anything about it. But I don't know what you guys have to deal with at your level. I'd imagine it happens quite often, though.
I luckily have not. I've seen some bad ones, but and I'm not saying I've never had staph, but it's never gotten to where it's like really bad and like swelled up and pussing, But I've seen some bad ones. Shit, we got a kid on our team right now who has it on his hand, and his hand is like double the size, bro. It's bad.
Yeah, I've had staph and like little skin infections a million times. I have bad skin already, so just more susceptible. I mean, if you have like any type of like acne and then you're on the mat, it's just like I feel like it's 10 times as likely because it's almost like you have like the open wound, right?
Already,
so then so then it's like 10 times as likely that you're going to get something. And then it's just like, I mean, you have to get into the habit of showering ideally right after training. That's why if I was to open a jiu-jitsu school, it would be non-negotiable that there would have to be at least one shower there.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, I shower immediately. As soon as the practice is over, I'm in the shower. I have like a soap sponsor, Spar soap, luckily. So like I have this like antibacterial soap. And then also like one thing that I started doing that helped me a lot, which I think a lot of people, especially like dumb young athletes, don't do. I bring like a loofah too. So I have the soap and I have a loofah and I like fucking scrub my body. And that made a huge difference. Because it's like if you just soap up real quick, you could soap up everywhere, but it might not really get like deep down. So I started using a loofah and like really scrubbing my whole body because I used to get little skin infections and little staph infections on my legs, on my arms, like anywhere. So I like just scrub my whole body. And ever since I started doing that, it's really helped out a lot.
And I was going to say too, Mason, obviously if the person has the time or kind of, the resources to, get in the shower and scrub, do that. But like even something as simple as like, maybe you don't have a soap or a loofah or something, just getting in the shower and, trying to get that original paste off you. And then when you get home, get to a better shower or even like a defense wipe. I love defense wipes, actually. Maybe I could hit them up to sponsor the pod. And they send you a kind of a container of like, you think of like the Clorox, like cleaning wipes or whatever. And then you just pull them out and you can wipe your, arms and face down and whatever your immediate areas. And, but honestly, I'll say this too, is like, dude, the more you can allow yourself to like be on the mat and I swear, I think you get a little like, I'm not saying immune to the skin disease, but like, bro, for me, I'm not, dude, I'm on the mat every day, all day. And it's like, I never get ringworm, but it's because I've been on the mat since I was 4 years old. I truly believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's got to have something to do with that,
I think it might be a genetic thing too, bro, because I've been on the mat a long time and it's like, I feel like the last few years has gotten worse.
For sure.
I always get shit.
Dude, we got a coach here, Jeremy, and he's got a twin brother, Justin. And like, when I talk about absolute like psychos over skin infections and stuff, because they get it so bad, like they have like, like you said, they have the bad skin in the sense of that they always get like some type of infection or something. Like, dude, if a kid walks in and he even has like a scrape that looks like a ringworm, Jeremy's like, hey, he's like the ringworm police, bro. I'm like, relax, dog. Because actually now in wrestling, you don't have to have a doctor's note for ringworm anymore. You can wrestle with ringworm.
So you can just wrestle with ringworm.
Whoa.
At a tournament, though. At a tournament. Oh. So I think jiu-jitsu too is a lot different in the sense that like, it's more adults. it's adults that are paying a membership that are coming to the gym, as opposed to like in wrestling, it's mostly like, high school wrestling, it's kids that are coming after school. So in jiu-jitsu, it's like, if there's like an outbreak of like ringworm or staph or something like that, that's going to hurt the business. So like, that's going to cost the business money, because there's going to be certain people that maybe like get staph and then they have to go to the hospital and get antibiotics. And it's like, if it's your first week doing jiu-jitsu and you get like a gnarly staph infection, there's a good chance you're just going to like be like, this ain't for me. That could be like the deal breaker for you.
For sure. Easy.
So like our policy is like, if anyone has anything, they're off the mats. And like people, it's crazy because there's been multiple times that people will come into class and they'll just have like a Band-Aid over something. And so if I'm teaching the class, bro, you're like, I need to see what's under that Band-Aid. Like,
yeah, you're better than me.
You don't know how many times.
I'm not as conscious about it probably as you are.
No, dude, if I see a Band-Aid, bro, it's a wrap. Don't come to my class with a Band-Aid. And then it's always like, oh, it's a spider bite. I'm like, bro, that is staph. Yeah, that's like, I know what staph is. It's not a spider bite. Like, spider bites don't look like that. That is a staph infection. And even if it is a spider bite, it looks like staph. So get off the mat. Like, I don't care.
You just have like an epidemic of nothing but spider bites for all your students. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
man.
it's just like, it's like one dude comes in with a Band-Aid on his leg, and then all of a sudden it's like, like the next week, 3 dudes come in with Band-Aids on their leg, and it's like, dude, you guys all have staph. Like get on antibiotics and like take a few days off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you
heard
can take a few days off. It's okay. Go to the gym and work out and lift weights. Go do something else for like literally like 3 or 4 days, bro.
Yeah, I heard that it actually starts in the nose. I don't know for sure or where that came from, but if you have a clean nose, you have a better defense against a skin infection like staph.
Wow.
Yeah,
that must be why Deron never gets it. His nose is so clean.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, boy. But I've seen some like almost end people's careers, bro. That's what I was gonna say. Like like King Mo Lawal. You guys know Mo? I mean, Mason, you do.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I've heard of him,
bro. He like almost died overseas from a staph infection. It like attacked his body, and he was in the hospital for like weeks, bro. So that's the scary thing about those ones is the what do we call them, like the septic. You got me, Andrew?
Yeah, it's just like when it's all like the skin is open.
Turns into MRSA.
Yeah, like the one that's inside, and it's kind of like mat herpes. Like, I mean, 89% of college wrestlers, if you wrestled in college or after college, you have mat herpes, and that's just what it is. It doesn't matter. You're not any less clean or whatever. It's almost like that's just what it is, bro. Do you know what that is, Andrew?
No, I mean, I've seen some gnarly ass pictures and stuff like that, but I didn't know it was like that though.
Oh yeah. I mean, 90% of college wrestlers have it. It sucks, dude. And you can like, once you've had it, like shit, I've probably had it for like 10 years now. I just get it on my forehead, and then sometimes I get it on my cheek. But you can start like, if you get the chance and you touch your lymph node and you're like, oh, it's swollen, it's about to start. Or I get these like little headaches, these little sharp headaches. And like, it's not, I mean, for 5 seconds, I'll just feel this little pain and I'm like, oh, it's about to start. Whoa. And you try to like get on top of it with like Valtrex or Vaciclofol or whatever and stay off the mat, bro.
So there was one fighter in Fresno. He's like one of the legends of Fresno. His name's Cole Escovedo. He was one of Pop's like first like big fighters, right? Mm-hmm. And he actually made it to the UFC. He was like, I think the first guy out of Fresno to make it to the UFC. He fought Renan Barão in his debut. Wow. Right? He got staph that turned into MRSA, and it put him in like a coma for like 4 days, bro.
No way.
Yeah, he was in a coma and he almost died. And then he ended up getting past it, and then he continued training, and then he made it to the UFC.
Wow. All right. Damn. We're done talking about fucking staph.
Giving everybody nightmares.
So
it's making my skin itch a little bit.
So something big happened this week, and it happens to do with one of the GOATs definitely one of he'd be probably on my Mount Rushmore. But Demetrious Johnson retired officially from MMA. Without a doubt, one of the greatest fighters of all time, top 10, and I don't think anybody can debate.
Top 3, bro.
Depending on lists, you know what I mean?
If he's not in your top 5, bro, I don't respect your list.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And he just got his final win in ONE FC. And what did he? He had like 10 or 11 flyweight titles in the UFC. And then I was talking to Andrew about this. What's cool is just a couple weeks ago, he competed in the Masters?
The Masters
The Masters Worlds. Did he? And he won it, obviously. And I just saw a video of him like consoling his opponent that he fought in the gold medal. Did you see that, Andrew?
Yeah, that was dope. I really appreciate that stuff too, because he's like, bro, like we go home and like we go back to our families. Like that's the stuff that really matters. And it's like, yeah, but like in the moment, you want to win. But it was just, I don't know, man. He seems very genuine. Definitely gonna brag about it again. But I met him at CJI and he was just super nice. Wasn't I don't know. I've met people that are just like, oh yeah, cool, thanks or whatever. And he was just all about it. He was really fired up. He was excited to be at the event. He was excited that we were talking about gi jiu-jitsu. And yeah, I definitely have him on my Mount Rushmore of MMA fighters. I am curious though, what your guys' thoughts are when it comes to like him headlining some of the UFC events. Maybe I'm wrong, but I remember hearing stuff about like those events not being as exciting because people didn't understand because they were so lightweight. Do you guys think that if maybe that whole thing started like in today's day and age, that it would be different? Or do you think people still only care about the heavyweights?
I think that people only care about the heavyweights. And there's a couple reasons. Heavyweights, people want to see, one of the most sought out things in human nature is watching a larger than life man knock out another larger than life man. That's got to be top 10 sensations in the world for people to see, right? And also with the lighter weights, and this is probably the same thing in jiu-jitsu for sure in wrestling, there's so much going on. It's so complex that sometimes it's hard for people to keep up with. And it's like, their punches aren't landing as hard. They're just getting into too many scrambles, which is not a bad thing. It's just they're more skilled, So I don't think, because it's even like, I couldn't tell you who the champ is right now at 125. Oh, it's I know who it is. The Brazilian.
It's Figueiredo or Moreno?
It's Pantoja.
Oh, it's Pantoja. Yeah. It's
Pantoja, see, Figueiredo fights 35 now.
Well, you said the Brazilian. That's why I was like, Figueiredo's the champ again?
No.
I think it has to do with a couple things, like, because I don't think you could just say that it's because people want to see the heavier weights, because the biggest pay-per-view draw of all time is Conor McGregor, who was like fighting 145, 155, right? And we have a huge star right now at 135 that's fighting this weekend, Sean O'Malley. So I don't, and you could say Sean O'Malley's a bigger star than Tom Aspinall, right? Who's like the heavyweight interim champ. So I don't think it's all about just people want to see the heavier weights. I think there's a lot of things that come into play. Like the biggest one is marketing, right? Sugar Sean has just been like a marketing genius, but it hasn't just been him. He's also had a lot of push. The UFC's pushed him, right? And then he has like big name brand deal sponsors. Like he's in with like the Nelk Boys, which is huge. He has like the Happy Dad sponsorship and all that stuff. So I think marketing is a big thing. And like, I'm not trying to say like Mighty Mouse was like bad at marketing, but he just was like a super nice, polite, well-spoken, respectful family dude, right? Like with the wife and kids, who is like, should be everyone's role model. But that's not really what people want to see. People want to see the Conor McGregors that are like out, like fighting people and getting drunk and like have all these hot girls around. That's like what's cool, right? And that's like what sells.
Why? It's like people like love like John Jones and stuff, because they are more relatable to them on a personal level
for sure.
than the clean cut guys are. So the majority of dudes who are watching MMA, I'm not saying this in a way that I'm saying, like, I'm sure a lot of dudes got their lives together, but there's a lot of dudes who watch who don't have their lives together, who are kind of fuck ups, maybe, go and party and not do the right thing all the time. And so whenever they see a dude like that succeed, they love them even more because they're like, man, see, I ain't so bad,
Yeah, and then on top of that, so not just the marketing, but then on top of that, because it was like a newer division, he also didn't have a lot of high profile opponents. Like sometimes he was fighting guys that had a few fights in the UFC and no one really knew about. I mean, when he had like Henry Cejudo, I think that was like the best thing that ever happened to him because he had another high profile opponent, right? But he didn't have big name opponents either. And then the performances, even though they were great and they were amazing and they were MMA at its highest level, they weren't always super exciting fights. Like there was a few times he would win a fight 50-45 where he just won every round. He was better than the guy. And there was no back and forth. The most exciting fights, they have big momentum shifts. And this guy won this round. Oh, this guy came back and won this round. This guy won the third round. Oh, it's 2-2 going into the fifth round. Everyone's on the edge of their seat. Like, even if there's not a finish, it's competitive. But Mighty Mouse was cursed by being so much better than everyone else that a lot of the fights weren't competitive. And unfortunately, that's what makes the sport exciting, is when I win the first round and then you win the second round. Even if there's no finish, people are on the edge of their seat watching. But then when Mighty Mouse was fighting, it's like you're 4 rounds in going into the fifth, and it's like this guy doesn't have a chance to fucking win.
Yeah, and then
people are saying he's boring. Oh, he's boring. But it's like it's not his fault that he's so much better than everyone else. That was what made it boring. So people are hating on him that he's boring. But it's like, hey, man, I'm sorry that I'm so much better that the fight's not competitive. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, and it's tough because it's like, okay, did he not really have an opponent? Or what if you remove Mighty Mouse from that division, then all of a sudden is it a really good division, right? But he was just so much better. He made everybody else look significantly worse. And I mean, I don't know if it's arguably, but I think best armbar in UFC history. Like,
yeah, bro,
he was extremely exciting to watch, but all he did was keep winning and keep backing up his title. And again, the last podcast we did with Victor Hugo, where we were talking about like another world title is not going to do anything for Victor Hugo, but the marketing side is definitely going to do something for him. So yeah, it would be interesting if he was, I think, doing it in today's day and age where he now understands the marketing side of things, like the podcast side, the YouTube side, and all that stuff. He probably, he would have been a lot of people's number one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he does well in other avenues too. Like he does like Twitch and stuff like that. So, he's always going to be, it's always cool to see and know that when a guy retires like him, that he's going to be okay. Because that's not always the case with pro athletes, especially not pro fighters. It's like you hate to see a guy like that, a legend, a Hall of Famer, retire, and you not sure what he's going to do in the next aspect of his life. And is he going to be okay? Is he going to have a financial burden? Because you'd think that a guy like that should never have a financial burden, but sometimes that's just how it is. So for him to be able to transition and he'll probably get to some commentating gigs. He's very intellectual, and he gets another side of those fans that are gamers, and he's kind of a nerd a little bit, but he's also a badass. He's the man, bro. Nothing but respect for DJ.
Yeah. Mason, have you ever met Mikey Musumeci?
Yeah. So Mikey actually used to be under Caio Terra, who's my coach.
I didn't know that.
So he never lived in San Jose, but he would come to San Jose to do like the last month or the last few weeks of his training camps for like big competitions, right? So there would be many times that I was doing my training camp for like the world championships when I was a brown belt, and then Mikey would be there doing his training camp when he was a black belt. So I was there in the room with Mikey when he was doing his training camps for his first 2 world titles. So I think he was with Kyle for maybe maybe 3 years. I think he went there early on in his black belt career. He won 2 world titles with Kaio. And then he ended up kind of going off and doing his own thing. And then he won 2 more world titles when he was kind of independent, or he's been to a few different teams since then. He won 2 more world titles. I think he has 4 black belt world titles now. And then after the 4th world title, he stopped doing the gi competitions and the IBJJF competitions, because at that point he was just probably making so much money with ONE FC that it's like, I mean, it's like, why? Like if I'm making, I don't know what he makes, but I'm sure it's more than 50 grand per match, right? It might be 100 grand per match. If you're making 100 grand per match 4 times a year, are you going to do 3 matches and do the worlds instead? No, right? You're going to make the 4 $100,000 matches. So
yeah, I found it interesting that, you know, he was scheduled to go up against Cade at 170 and then had on his turn, like he agreed to do this. He wanted to cut down to 135. He didn't make weight and he was stripped of his belt. I don't know. I guess maybe this makes things interesting for ONE FC or for ONE Championship, because I don't know, it just seems like it's kind of like him and then everybody else. But if maybe somebody else has the belt, now there's something to fight for. But I don't know. I think it was kind of weird that they stripped him of the belt, considering he was getting ready for a 170-pound match.
Yeah, they should have maybe done some type of catch weight, you would think. And plus, like, I don't know, like, it's jiu-jitsu, it's not MMA, so it's like it's not that serious. Like,
yeah,
it's not that serious. I mean, you guys couldn't just do like a catch weight at 140. I mean, jiu-jitsu's super,
it was like really short. It was
weight.
Short notice, huh? Like how short?
So he was supposed to do a match with Cade,
and I remember that because they fought on the same card the last time.
Yeah,
and he kind of called. He didn't call Cade out, but he was like, "But I'm gonna move up." You know, he was like all hyped up and shit.
Yeah, so they had that match scheduled for a long time, but then Cade won that $1 million, and then I guess he had gotten some type of injury in the process.
Yeah, I'm out, cuz.
So Cade dropped out, and then I don't know, was it like 2 weeks notice maybe? So
it was very short. Very short notice.
He went from like having to make 170 in 2 weeks to like, okay, you're gonna make 135 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Yeah, like they could have. I would personally think they would maybe like give him a little bit of leeway, because I mean he's like their golden boy. There was a lot of outside circumstances with the weight changing from 170 to 135. So it's like, can we just not have the title up for grabs and then do it at like 140?
Something.
If the opponent wins, the opponent can get the title. Like, we don't have to be so like strict in jiu-jitsu. It's not like MMA where if you miss weight by like 1 pound, you're fucked.
Yeah. And it's crazy, dude. He had he tore something in his lungs or something from trying to like do some breathing techniques to help with the weight cut. I was like, dude, like, well, maybe it's a blessing that you didn't make weight, because who knows what, maybe something worse could have happened.
That's crazy. I've never even heard that.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. I should pay attention to this stuff a little bit closer, but I was just like, yeah, maybe it's a blessing. One thing I definitely don't understand, and maybe because I haven't been around jiu-jitsu for that many years, I don't understand why so many people, like, if you read the comments, it's like a lot of people hate on Mikey Musumeci, and I don't get it. I don't understand. I know he talks a lot of shit about people doing steroids, and he'll point to that as like, oh, they're cheating, they're doing this, they're doing that. And I'm like, okay, that's something that a natural athlete would say, because they don't know that steroids aren't going to do that much for you. You still have to put in a shit ton of work. Yes, they will help, but they're not going to, you know, again, if everybody was taking steroids, Mikey Musumeci would still be the best one. Along with, you know, everything, everybody would still be the same as where they ranked right now. But I love Mikey Musumeci. I think the dude's
he's a
awesome.
dork, bro. It's because he's a dork. He looks like a dork, and people don't want to accept the fact that he would choke him unconscious.
Yeah.
You know? Like big dudes that lift and they look big and they think they're badass. They don't want to accept the fact that Mikey Musumeci would grab them and put them to sleep. It's what it is. It's egos,
their egos,
bro.
can't take it.
Yeah, it's egos.
Their egos can't take it.
That's wild to me.
Insecure, bro.
That sucks.
It sucks. It's like when Kyle submitted me, bro. I couldn't believe it. It was bad too. Have I told you about that, Andrew? Did we talk about that before?
No.
Bro. One time.
Story time.
I was at CTA during comp class, and I was going with like Yuri, Mason, and Kyle was out there. He doesn't always get out there, but he was out there. And so I went with them, and it was, you know, I was probably definitely being a douche and like, you know, doing the wrestler, like forehead, you know, in his chin and stuff like that. And bro, so I'm in his guard, which is incredibly hard to pass. And next thing, you know, at one point, he's got a hold of my wrist. I can't get it out. He puts it behind my back and then like passes it off to his other hand. So then I'm like trying to base up. I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. And next thing I know, he like hips up, sweeps me, bro. I'm on my back. He's in full mount and he has my arm up towards like my shoulder blade, bro. And just pulls it up and cranks it and submits me, bro. I was like, dude, this is crazy, bro.
Let me just preface that too by just reminding everyone how much of a big shit talker Deron is. And for like 6 months leading up to this, he was just like, man, I'll fuck your coach up, bro.
There ain't no way, Kyle. There ain't no way that dude will submit me, bro.
He's like, I'm tapping your coach out, bro. Wait until I come there.
I don't say if I said tap him out, but I was like, there's no way that dude submits me.
And then I was training with someone else and I just was looking over. I would just look over and Deron would be in like the worst position imaginable every time. Like he's stuck on the bottom. Like he's like, oh. And it was in front of his girl to make matters worse.
And what's cool is like if or not cool, I guess, if she didn't know like anything about Kyle, it was like, dude, like how did that young kid tap? Like that's weird.
Like this, he talks like this.
Like, and then he just fucks people up.
Yeah, he's a badass, bro.
Yeah, and he looks like, dude, you could tell me that he's like 16. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. He's walking down the street, and you're like, and he's like, says something to you, and you're like, look at this, I'm about to fuck this dude up. All right, let's do this. Do you guys know that today's 9/11?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So where were you when you got the news of 9/11?
I was getting ready for school junior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
you,
Mason?
That shit like it was yesterday. My sister,
I was pulling up, bro. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I came downstairs. My sister, like I could just like looked at her face and she was just like really freaked out. And I was like, I'm still waking up, you know, like, what are you like, why is the TV? Like, what's happening? Like, this isn't normal. And then like, as I look, they show like the plane going right in. I'm like, whoa, it was real. It was weird. It was surreal. It was insane.
I was pulling up. I was in 6th grade, I think. And my mom was driving us to school, me and my brother. And, you know, like typical, like single mom, not all put together. She's probably like doing her makeup in the car and like trying to pull up, drop us off, and then go head to work. You know what I mean? Kind of like flustered. Mm-hmm. And me and my brother were just always like causing trouble, like fighting with each other in the back seat, just being as stressful as possible for her. And I just remember like, we were pulling up. We were right about to get out the car, and me and my brother were probably fighting or something. Like she's like, "Shut up! Listen to this!" She's just like freaking out. She's like, "Oh my god! She was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, I was a kid. I was like, "What's happening?"
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on.
We got into the classroom. We got into the classroom, and then it's all just like silent. And then the teacher just had like the news on, and yeah, it was the world. That was like the day that the whole world stopped.
Yeah, I was in 7th grade. I was in art class, and I'm pretty sure it was my second period because I was in the Midwest, so I was at school a little bit earlier than you guys. And I still remember it, bro. I remember she rolled the TV in, my art teacher, she turned it on, and she let us know. And you know, when you're 12, you don't really understand what's going on. Mm-mm. And I don't even know if I knew what the World Trade Centers were at that time.
Yeah.
But then when I remember the same thing. I got home from school and it was on every channel, bro. Every channel. And I was like, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you realize, you know, what, 20, how many years has it been? I was 12, 22 years since then. It's like I still remember it clear as day. That's how big of an impact it was.
I remember thinking, you know, because I'm like, wait, like this means we're probably going to war. And then like a little bit after that, Bush was like, yeah, we're going to reinstate the draft. And I was right at that age. So I was like, oh shit. Like, dude, I might be like having to go to like into the army or something. Like I didn't know anything. Right. But I was like, for the first time, I was like, whoa, dude, like I'm actually scared of like what's going to happen. Like this is weird, you know, because up until then, like, I don't know, I had it pretty easy. Like I didn't have like anything to stress about other than like school, which, you know, I didn't even care about anyway. But I just remember like everything changed, you know, in that one day. And I was like, yeah, things are never going to be the same.
Okay, down in the comments section, let us know your worst mat infection story. We'll compare, you know, the worst of the worst, and we'll pin the one that we feel is the absolute worst that everybody needs to read. If it's true that people don't get super fired up for the lightweights, well, how about a heavyweight? We have one of the best pound-for-pound heavyweights, Victor Hugo, on the show. If you missed it, the dude's incredible. We talked about his loss at CJI and what he's going to do moving forward. Really good conversation. Highly recommend it. Please go check it out, and we'll see you there. Peace.